Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks, to this part 2 of learning the story of China and how the CCP came to what it is today. In the first part, we've gone through and created a base for our discussion. It is going to be interesting to find out the development of the CCP to the modernish era of the 1980s and the 1990s and how the thought process of the CCP that we see today has formed. To discuss this, as you can see, I have with me Major General Rajiv Narayanan, who's going to take us through his presentation on the CCP. Thank you, sir, for once again joining for this part 2.
Thank you, Aadi. In this part 2 is essentially the strategic basis of what I term as the strategic continuum, where Deng Xiaoping, Hu Jintao, and Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao set the foundation and the base for Xi Jinping then to do what he wanted, what he's doing. So this part 2 essentially looks at the strategic continuum, and we would look at the various strategies that got evolved and how was it actualized by Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao. And the actual rise of China is seen in this period, which we talk of double-digit GDP growth and everything. The actual rise comes here. So that would be this session.
Let's begin, sir.
Other game that they play is an ancient game of theirs called Vichi. It's a very old game. So on the left, you see the Vichi board. There are 19 vertical lines and 19 horizontal lines. That makes it 361. There are 2 players. You will have 180 spherical stones for each, which you place at the cross marks. These ones these are called strategic points, intersections, central points, which in geostrategy would be very strategic. Players play alternatively. You place a coin or your stone on a cross. That's it. You cannot remove that, unlike in chess, where your coins keep moving. Here it doesn't move. Unless it is killed, removed from the board because it gets surrounded by opponents. Aim of the game is who gains maximum space is the winner at the end of the game. And it's a very slow game, carries on for a very long period of time. And geopolitically, it's called a game of influence. Now, what are the basic strategies that you will find there? They try to establish a base. Now you'll understand it's much easier if you keep it to your side and to immediate flank of yours. For the opponent to reach there is difficult. So if you have some groupings around you, it becomes difficult for the enemies, the opponent, to penetrate that area with his coins, because you can easily surround him and evict that coin. So that is how it moves, that these develop strong shapes. That means you get good grouping. So options for life, that means those stones can live. Now, hence you will always find they'll come from corners. Then there is one thing which I have not given here. It's called ko. For a long period of time, even in chess also, you could have a stalemate. Check, and he moves somewhere else. He moves to another place, gives him a check. He comes back again. There is no, there are certain places where you can't give a checkmate.
Right.
It could carry on. It's only, I think, around, if I remember correctly, around 80s when they came up, the International Chess Federation came up and said that no, 4 or 5, and after that the game is draw. Here, such a move is banned. It's called co-movement, where I can keep repeating the movements without gaining anything, both sides. So you have to go somewhere else, create some situation which breaks this co, and then you can move your coins around in co. That means if there are a few coins surrounded by the opponent's coins, I can come from outside, remove certain coins of the opponent, and the co is broken. So that means you can keep coming back to that place. It is not necessary that if you have been able to block him at a place, he'll not come back again by creating something else. So this is the game geostrategically that he plays. It's a long time game of influence. So when you put this on the map of Asia, you can immediately find his P1 will be his eastern seaboard and the border with India. It has to be. He has to take control of that if he's going to play geopolitically the Vichi game. That means his eastern seaboard, Southeast Asia, South Asia are critical to him. P2 becomes Central Asia and the South Pacific and the eastern coast of Africa. P3 becomes his West Asia, North Africa. P4 is Europe, Latin America, and other places like I have given here. It changes. When he comes to, at the global level, it changes. P1 becomes the Asian region, Southeast Asia, South Asia, P2. And when you relate it to how he is progressing things around, you find it interesting that he is following this game, literally. He is most aggressive in South China Sea. Why? Now, what is the essence? Gaining control through influence. Vichi is an influence game. So the aim is that you first destroy the comprehensive national power of your target countries gradually. He's achieved it in Laos, he's achieved it in Cambodia, ASEAN is in disarray. You know what he has done in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal is also likely to fall apart. So like a dragon, no wonder he is known as a dragon. Burn. Dragons don't bite. They first burn you and then eat the remnants if there are any left. So he's going to burn you. So that is his first strategy in to destroy the CNP internally through subversion, economically, whatever he wants to do, destroy you. So that is the second point. Geoeconomics is used as a tool. And that's where BRI is one of the biggest tools that he has. PLA is there for intimidation. Attack is only much later if he has to, because he knows that if there is a strong army, he can't win. Aim is to win without fighting, which is Sun Tzu's teaching. You will use deception at every stage to blindside the target countries. And like I had said earlier, when we were talking, agreements only last till the CNP is perceived as much stronger that of the target country is denuded. Till then, when he perceives it is, he may be wrong, like he went wrong in Ladakh. The agreements last only till then. After that, he tears it up. And there is fresh agreements that he'll get into. And he hopes that through this, he can avoid the Thucydides trap. You know, openly, if you go become strong, Thucydides was from the Peloponnesian times, Athens, Sparta. If one became stronger, then you went and physically attacked them. It's a clash of arms. That's the Thucydides trap. The world wars took place, the 2 world wars. That's the Thucydides trap. He wants to avoid that by using geoeconomics as a warfare tool. So it's not a clash of arms, it's a clash of geoeconomics. So he hopes to avoid the Thucydides trap. Now, the strategic continuum that I have been writing of a number of times in all my writings, Mao Zedong had failed. Deng Xiaoping is the one who laid the foundations for the economic revival of China. He opened China up. He knew that education was most important. So he made sure that the US and the West opened their doors for tens and thousands of Chinese students who have gone and studied there till the highest level. And they're still going. Right? And he made use of their expertise to develop world standard universities in China, right? Which he has done. Jiang Zemin, who came after him, continued with it. Deng Xiaoping is the one who brought in collective leadership, because single man autocracy, he felt China had suffered enough under Mao Zedong. He brought in the two terms, collective leadership. As a group, you will decide, the standing Politburo. Right? The Politburo Standing Commission is the one who would take the decisions. Jiang Zemin, yeah, you were saying something?
That's what I wanted to actually ask you. So this is where the management philosophy of the CPC comes in?
Yeah. Deng Xiaoping gave it. See, the whole concept was given by Sun Yat-sen.
Yeah.
Strategizing was given by Deng Xiaoping. In later slides, I'll show what all were the strategies which came out. And I've already told what the overall grand strategy was, that this is how they're going to do. Again, laid out by Deng Xiaoping. Okay. So Deng Xiaoping is the one who has strategized to actualize what Sun Yat-sen had, the concept and the vision that Sun Yat-sen had. When he opened up China's growth, he has followed almost to a T, that book which was written by Sun Yat-sen in 22, International Development of China. Everything very late, ports, where how to develop the ports, the roads, the railway lines, energy. And plus in that, he had said colonization, because a lot of resources were going to be, mineral resources were going to be available from these regions, and water, because Tibet is the hub of the waterways in Asia, especially East, Southeast and South Asia. Tibet controls that water. Okay. Jiang Zemin strengthened the foundations. Now the minerals were not adequate for their growth. It was there for the initial growth. So he sent his state-owned enterprises out into the world, and they started investing heavily in mines and where all these resources were available, either owning them or having controlling stakes. One prime example is Australia.
Cool.
Yeah, prime example is Australia. Okay, so this he did so that there is security of resources as far as China is concerned. Now, when China started evolving as the hub, manufacturing hub. Now, remember, all these students, when they came back, they were intelligent. So the MNCs did not have to invest that much in developing the skilled labor that they needed. And so China started becoming the hub of the global supply chain. Not just the manufacturing hub, it is also an R&D hub for a lot of MNCs.
Tech, yes,
People
sir.
should not forget that. People think it's only the factory. No, it's also the R&D. Most of the places they have R&D, biotech, everything. Prime example is Wuhan library. The Wuhan virus which came out of that lab, it's an international R&D hub. Okay, so when this happened, you always remember one thing you have to remember: flag follows silver. That means I will start opening bases to control things wherever I have invested, wherever my money comes from. That was the concept what the British also followed, and that is why they had full control over Middle East and all these places where they had their bases coming up to India and going further. That's why the sun never set, because from the colonies which were captive market and also captive resource.
Yeah.
So China started that in a different manner. Under Hu Jintao, now the SOEs went investing in ports on the international maritime trade route. So you were either owning or you had controlling stakes in the port. In a Financial Times survey as far back as 2017, 40%, almost 40% of the ports were on the international maritime trade route were either owned or controlled by China, had controlling stakes. And between 70 to 80% of the containers traffic was either owned or controlled by China. That is the level to which his investment is there in this, to be able to control the movement of global supply chain. And that is why when the world started getting after them, all he did was delay the movement of ships from his ports, and the world went flat as far as containers were concerned. People think that Xi Jinping has become aggressive. He's only joining the dots, and he's reaping the benefits of the foundation which has been laid by Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao. He is now trying to build. A lot of scholars have said that Deng Xiaoping, in his speeches, I don't have access to it because unfortunately I don't know Mandarin, but people who have had access to it, especially in the West, in the US, they say that Deng Xiaoping had laid down a period of 100 years for the rise of China. That it will take them 100 years. That means he started in 79. So he expected that 2079, 2080 was when China would have fully risen. Till then, they had to follow the hide your claws and bide your time.
Yes, sir.
Right? People, we just keep a low profile. Bide your time is understood by the West. They forgot hide your claws. Okay. Jiang Zemin continued, and Hu Jintao, they continued. They coined the phrase peaceful rise, harmonious rise. Though Hu Jintao had broken when he brought 41 heads of African state, but he kept quiet. What Deng Xiaoping had stated in these speeches, what the experts say is that the 5th generation leader, that is Xi Jinping, in his second term, should get the scholars to do the survey. That what is the timeline? Are we following a correct trajectory? Or is there a slippage? What is to be done? But I think Xi Jinping is more megalomaniac. He has had the, I think, psychological scars of the Cultural Revolution. So he broke all that and he became aggressive. And we will tell, yeah, he became very aggressive. He is in a hurry, and there is a reason why he is in a hurry. He's in a hurry. I'll touch on that a little later, on how he came to power, which tells you everything. It should have rung warning bells in China and rest of the world of how he came to power in the first term. Now, with this, what all were the strategies? First thing which came out late in 99 was unrestricted warfare. No, it is actually war without rules, and essentially moves China from people's war to people at war. Virtually the people are used for war everywhere. It is the same. It's not that this is something new. US calls it full spectrum warfare, and they also do the same thing. They use the media, they use the NGO, they use everything. That's exactly the same way which the Chinese have also started doing it. And Chanakya, we have forgotten. He also called it in his Kuta Yuddha. There is a portion called Tushnim Yuddha, which is exactly the same, where you have to make sure that you know what is going on and you curb in your enemy country so that he doesn't become a strong power against you. It is there in Arthashastra. We have forgotten our cultural connect. Now, these are all touches military, non-military, and trans-military domain. It cuts across all domains. And you name it, anything new which comes is covered under unrestricted warfare. And the 3 warfares, that is the public opinion, psychological, and legal, have come into prominence now. But these were initiated, by the way, by Hu Jintao as far back as 2002. But because it was don't take leadership, they didn't become aggressive. It didn't come out. But ever since Xi Jinping has become aggressive, it has become very clear. These are the shadow institutions. They have already established since 99. What you see in the back is what is the existing what the Chinese have made in the shadow. What you see in front is what it is competing with.
Okay.
Okay. So all your US and West led financial institutions and everything, excluding World Bank, excluding UN, everything is in place. And to counter the ICJ, they have already created BRI and courts of arbitration at Shenzhen and Xi'an and Supreme Court. That counters the International Court of Justice. Means I am the judge, jury, and executioner. Because BRI is everything Chinese.
I know.
And if you have any problem, you have to come to me only to sort it out. So I am the judge, I am the jury, I am the executioner. Okay. And a whole lot of countries are part of this, and even developed countries are part of each of these institutions, by the way. Merix has done a wonderful job to give each of these details. Merix Berlin. And this is what I said, how they rule the waves, all the ports and container traffics across the international maritime trade. Now, the revenge of, what is the problem with China? You see, from the north and from the west, what you see on the gray on the right side, that is the Han heartland. That is China, Qin. From the ancient 200 BC Qin dynasty, Qin. That is Qin, China. What is on the left, what you see in gray, is the threat from where it has always been attacked from, which it wants to dominate. Most of it has taken. Mongolia, of course, it has not. Nepal, Bhutan, Northeast India, it has not. Laos, it controls. Vietnam has virtually now not in a position to do anything much. Myanmar, of course, it can't do anything much. The aim is, when it does this, it prevents a continental threat to Han heartland.
Buffer zone.
Now you see the thinker that Sun Yat-sen was at that time, because he had seen the naval power in force in First World War. Now, the only threat left is on the eastern seaboard. These are the areas from where, and this is the only place where it feels the superpower can come. It is very confident that no superpower will come through the continental area. And post the Ukraine conflict, now Russia is firmly on board with it. So North se threat to it's over. For at least for the near to medium terms, the threat from the North is over.
Till the sixth war comes into play, sir.
Yeah. So now you find what is its maritime strategy here. That is where important it comes to push the superpower out from the island chains, anti-access area denial, A2AD,
yes, sir,
with aircrafts and all. Now, this is what is Admiral Liu Hua King had laid it down in the 80s for them, how to become a blue water navy. And from there comes the first and second island chain. And first island chain as of 2010 is virtually red. And as he actualizes more and more of DF-21AD, which C and D, which is more than 1700 kilometers anti-carrier, the second island chain will also slowly in another 5 to 10 years will become absolutely red, which means that he would have pushed the American aircraft carriers in further into the Pacific open waters, because they will not like to come close if DF-21D is going to sink it. So you may have what, and that is the reason why he's going into more and more of the autonomous surface vehicles and underwater autonomous unmanned vehicles.
Correct, sir. Midget subs and
there is, and there is a lot of chatter on the Chinese net of underwater Great Wall of China.
Exactly.
That's all part of the naval strategy to protect himself from being attacked from the seaboard. So he doesn't fight the manner in which conventional wars are being fought. Mao's dictum of you fight your way, I'll fight mine. Okay. Now, Mao had said active defense, that is at the strategic level to be defensive. At operational level, any threat which is perceived, preemptive is part of that. As of 2013, Xi Jinping has changed it to active forward defense. There is a reason. Hu Jintao had also said for PLA to be prepared to defend its expanding core interests. Okay. So the CPEC, Kyokfu, your now the base that is Riem base, which is making in Cambodia, Hambantota, Djibouti. So that is the expanded core interest which they have to defend. So now it has become active forward defense. Forward defense means the concept today is to expand the land, maritime and air boundaries away from the traditional boundaries of China, so that battles are fought well away from China's actual boundaries.
Something like what the US talks about, the Monroe Doctrine.
No. Monroe Doctrine is different. Monroe Doctrine is a zone of interest. So he will not permit anybody into Pacific. He doesn't want the Europeans coming into the Pacific or into Latin America or into North America. That is his area of interest. Yeah. That is his area of interest. And as per Monroe Doctrine, they were not coming into the Atlantic. But after, when the First World War took place, the Allies had no choice but to call them.
Yeah, it went for a toss-up.
And rest is history.
Fair enough. Understood, sir.
Since 85, they have perceived that continental wars will be only with regional powers. And for regional power, lead India. Sort out ho gaye. So this is how they changed. And from 85, they came up with a concept called Warzone Campaign Doctrine, which modern conditions, high-tech conditions, informatized conditions, and now it is intelligence-sized conditions. These are their lexicon and jargon for what the West calls network-centric warfare.
Network-centric warfare. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, this is the Warzone Campaign Doctrine, where you have one strategic direction and several campaigns coming in. Okay, everything coming under one commander. This is the start point of how they practiced and did everything to what Xi Jinping did now of creating theater commands. There's one theater commander who looks after the complete campaign.
Correct.
This is the background. So people should not say, oh, usne kuch kar diya. Nah, this has been tried and tested and exercised over a period of 2-3 decades before he decided that, yes, I must go in for this. Okay. So these are the various pillars of 5 pillars of the Warzone campaign. You have unrestricted warfare, use of your special forces, non-state actors, long-range vectors, missiles, UCAVs, rockets, air. Along with that, the uninterrupted buildup of troop takes place. If here you have surrendered in the first 2, you have agreed to him, it's a political victory. If not, then you go in for the A2AD and A2AD even in the continental zone to gain tactical and operational superiority. If he agrees, then you have a major political and a minor military victory. Otherwise, the last phase is you go for all-out war and defeat him. But always remember, he would have already made sure to destroy your comprehensive national power so that you don't have that strength to stand up to you.
Those steps will come into place.
No, that comes, it's continuous.
Yeah.
It is already going on in peacetime.
Understood.
Okay, so there is a term which the Soviet used to call reflexive control. Means that was the manner in which the Soviet used to control the population. Reflexive control means that I will not tell you what to do, but I will create situations and lean you towards doing exactly what you want, what I want you to do, which will be you will decide to do, and it will be totally your decision, and you will not even realize that I have orchestrated everything for you to do that. It's called reflexive control. And that can be all the fissures within the society and every level can be utilized for reflexive control. For you to do what I want.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful journey through the, as I said in the beginning of the episode, modernish times of China, and where we will now start learning about the strong man that sits today on the throne of China, Xi Jinping, and how his story starts from where does he appear on the picture and how the entire thing will flow forward after that. It is, we've probably come about, 65-70% of the way in terms of our journey. Part 3 remains, where we talk about today's issues. So stay tuned, all of you, for the part 3 with its interesting content with Major General Rajiv Narayanan. Till then, sir, thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.